Welcome back. The Nigerian movie industry, known as Nollywood, is undoubtedly one of the country's biggest employer of labor, with over 1 million people, making it the largest employer after agriculture. Nigerian movie industry can be traced as far back as 1945 with the creation of Ogunde Theatre, the first professional theatrical company in Nigeria. The industry has recorded significant progress over the years in driving local content to the height of competing with other movie industries around the world. On today's program, we have...
On the program with us today, we have a filmmaker, a TV creator. He is a writer, producer, director, an alumni of the National Film Institute JOS and the prestigious New York Film Academy, California. I watched one of your shows. It's called Halita.
Oh, yeah.
My brother is on it.
Yes.
Sons of the Caliphate. Yeah,
yeah.
Eddie. He's also his credits also include Moments with Mo, Team Nigeria, Nawa, Drawing Strengths, Nayada, and Philo. Welcome to the show, Dimbo
Thank you
Atiya.
very much. Glad to be here.
How does it feel being in front of the camera for a
Oh,
change?
strange, you know, like when they were coming to mic me, it just kind of brought my like, so I know what these guys are going through. And just sitting down here, I'm like, oh, wow.
Usually
Feels
you're
good.
shouting, do this, do that. And now
I'm
see,
telling you,
it's
you're
a
always
little
behind the
different.
scene and you're screaming at people.
Are you tempted to tell the cameraman to arrange
Well,
the
you know,
camera
I was just
to
admiring
say-
the lady camera
Woman.
Yes, I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
We're
We
very
need to have
gender friendly, so
West.
we always ensure
okay,
we have...
that's nice. We need more of them in the film industry, though. So
most
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And you went to NIFA, New York Film Academy.
Oh yeah,
Tell me about your experience. I went there for a short course as well.
It was amazing. Like in 2012, I decided one day, look, if you're going to do this thing, you need to go get some sort of certification. Try and do something different. I decided to go to California, you know, which is, of course, Hollywood, because I wanted to firsthand see what happened there. And NIFA in California actually takes place at the Universal Studios. So, you know, it opened up, it pretty much just opened me up. Like, it broadened my, you know, thinking about filmmaking. Because on the streets of Hollywood, you see film sets. You know, you probably would just be walking and see a superstar, you know, passing by. So it kind of changed my perspective. And it was worth it going to NIFA. I also went to the New York campus, did the production course, you know, so yeah.
Which is what I did as well.
Oh,
and
okay.
one thing I learned from TV and film production in NIFA, in New York Film Academy, is that quality movies take time.
Oh.
But from the statistics,
Absolutely.
yes, from the statistics we get in Nigeria, the Nollywood industry produces over 50 movies every single week. So what, do we compromise on quality for quantity, or are we able to sustain the quality while churning out these numbers every week?
So the thing is, because Nollywood is basically funded by producers or self-funded, a lot of people just want to turn over the money. It's very important that I put it out there and I get my money back. That way I go do another movie. So we really don't do film for the art. So we don't have to take the time to make sure it's perfect. No, we do film just for the sake of consumption, just put it out there. When the money comes back, I put it into another one. That is why you have these film sets every other week. Producers are in a week or two, they're back on set filming the next story. You know, so the idea is most times we compromise on the quality. Why? Because there isn't enough time. Like you said, one of the major things I learned going to film school is that 99.9% of filmmaking is pre-production. A lot of people must understand that. When you go to the set, you're simply executing what you prepped for.
Exactly.
So if you prep well, you go on set, you get your product coming out well. But if you don't, it will be in the middle of shoot and they're looking for one hairpin. And somebody has to go all the way to Karu to go and get hairpin. So that and then it takes your time. Before you know what's happening, you wasted the whole day. And a lot of times people, when they find themselves in that situation, they're like, you know what, let's just shoot, let's just go. You know, and then we compromise on all of that. So we're always trying to turn over the money, because truly it's money that you don't want to tie down for a long time. Nobody has time for that. And that's really one of the major problems that we have. And truly, the other thing is, hey, everybody just wants to be busy. You want to do something. You just want to get out there and, you know, do the grind and see if anything will happen. I guess that's the reason why a lot of times we rush to do these movies and compromise on the quality. Now, if you notice, the ones that have, you know, shown some level of, you know, coming out very well, they took time to be produced. You know, people took their time to do auditions, to cast, to go do location recce and all. You know, but those are few. Those are the 93 Days. Those are the Fort Republics. Those are the what's the one that came here that did King of Boys. Those are films that took, you know, they had to prep for it. It took maybe a year or two to get it done. But 89 or 90% of Nollywood would prep in a week or 5 days, shoot in another 4 days, edit in another week, and the movie is out. Let's go there.
Wow.
Interesting. Well, you know, talking about quality, for instance, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. So I was one of those who waited to. I watched the first day episode 1, season 1 premiered, and we waited till the final season. Yeah. Now, talking about quality, we've seen in this last episode Starbucks cups left on the table. We've seen bottles of water behind chairs, and this is stuff that has taken them a while to create. Together, Yet we hear that close to 4 billion people have watched Game of Thrones. That's about half the population of the world. So they make these numbers, even with their errors, even though they do better, obviously. With Nigeria, how are we doing with numbers? We have the huge population, which always gives us great numbers. But are we really having Nigerians watch the movies you make compared to how much we pay attention to Hollywood?
That's a very interesting question. When you look at Hollywood, you have studios. These are multi-billion investments who put in the kind of money that needs to be put in for the quality. I mean, the battle of, what's it called? The last battle in the last season took about 58 nights to film, just the battle scene. Cost them almost about, what, $11 million to get that done. $11 million just for a battle scene. Now you can understand the level of investment that had gone into that. Imagine what they put into the production for seven years. That's a lot of. These are global companies knowing what to do to make the money back. So they will put in everything into it, get the best hands, the best people to make sure that we're tuning in and they're recouping the investment. I mean, if you look at Hollywood, same thing goes for all the films that you watch from Hollywood. You know, now coming back, like I said, ours is pretty much the fact that we fund it ourselves. And so a lot of times you want to run away from wahala. Let's say a writer writes and says, oh, the car jammed the other one and went off Third Mainland Bridge. Hey, when you give me that script, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how are we going to do this car going off Third Mainland Bridge? Because physically, that might be an impossible thing to achieve because of the budget. Yeah. If I have to do a CGI, that's a whole new perspective to it. That is, you're looking for light that will be uninterrupted for maybe say like 3-4 days for you to render. And that is not even possible. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that is hindering us from going out there and producing those huge blockbusters. Don't get me wrong, we can do them. Okay. It's just that we feel more comfortable staying in the place where we easily can execute what we can do now. And like I said, get my money out and just move forward. And nobody's competing with anyone. We are not saying, we want to do another Game of Thrones. If you give us the money, we might attempt it. We have stories here that could easily equal Game of Thrones. But where is the money to put into that kind of investment? So HBO will easily bring out the money because they know.
I heard they put in about $300 million.
Hey, I mean, like 4 billion people tuned in to watch. That is revenue that has generated and come back to them. You were talking about Starbucks. I mean, trust me, if you ask me, that was yes, it was placement. That was deliberately done because producers of shows like that will not make silly mistakes like that. It was deliberately done to bring out those conversations. And everybody's talking about Starbucks, Abi. Hey, if you haven't heard of it, you probably have heard of Starbucks.
Interestingly, so Avengers Endgame, I hear opening week in Nigeria did over 200 million naira.
Yeah. I mean, it's currently at 300 and something. Even
exactly.
now,
and this is Nigeria.
Yeah.
How are we doing with our local movies? Because it doesn't say people are not going to the theaters
People are going to the theaters. As of the last month, so far there are 10 Nollywood movies in the top 20 in Nigeria. About 2 of them are up there, and the highest grossing so far in the last is 29 million. And that's a drama. I can't remember the name now.
29 million what?
What 29 million naira.
Oh.
Yes, that's the highest has grossing, maybe like 5 weeks. And that is nothing compared to maybe what they put into it in terms of what they've invested into. At the end of the day, the distributors or the cinemas will take their percentage. The producer will probably go home with less than what he invested into into this
It
thing.
seems to me the issue in Nollywood is sort of, it's a double-edged sword. You're not receiving enough money from investors
Yeah,
and people
absolutely.
who want to advertise because of the quality of your movies.
Well, yeah.
And you're not able to draw in advertisers also, or because you don't have enough money to create the movie. So it's sort of, you know, a contradiction of what's going on. So how do we break out of this cycle of not enough money to fund your movies and advertisers not wanting
Nobody
to be
to
in your movies because your movies are so, you know, not of that great
I
standard?
think we don't have, the choice is that we have to produce quality movies and we have to tell stories that are mainstream. So one of the projects that we have also is that we produce stories that are pretty much just for local consumption. I mean, a brand will want to go out there and make sure that you're reaching out more people. Are we telling more mainstream stories that these advertisers are attracted to? Are these things tailored to what they are selling? How are they able to, you know, build in their product into your storytelling? Are we being futuristic about it? If, say for example, the telecoms are saying, oh, we're going 5G, who is telling a story that the future has come and see 5G being put into the whole story? Nobody is telling that, because I can't go and do this thing because it's money. But if I have a story that says, oh, we're looking into the future, cars driving themselves because the internet is better, services or whatever, you know, I mean, a telecom company might just be interested to say, you know what, can we go in there? So we're not telling mainstream stories yet. We're still concerned about the small dramas that we can talk about, wives and husbands, or boyfriend and girlfriend. I mean, hey, who wants to put money into that kind of...
As a filmmaker, why don't you take that risk? Why don't you take that leap of faith? Why don't you borrow money from the bank to make that movie?
Oh, no, don't even go there. Borrow money from No. Borrow money from... As far as I'm concerned, banks don't see us as investors, or they don't see us as entrepreneurs. They don't see us as businesses where they can take such risk. Why? Because there's no guarantee that you're going to make those numbers back. The only places you probably get those kind of fundings are banks where they're giving out government funds. So maybe the Bank of Industry, there's government funds there. I hear that the CBN about to distribute money for filmmakers. We don't know that yet. We're waiting to hear if that will happen. That's pretty much where it is. But a commercial bank will not take people's money and give it to you to go and do unless you have a very strong reason why they should do that. And that might be probably climbing Mount Everest, trying to convince them to do that. So those are the issues that we face. So like I said, I can't try to go futuristic because the funding might not be there. Even if it is the goodwill, okay, how many animation studios or how many CGI studios do we have in Nigeria? How many 5.1 surround mix studios do we have in Nigeria? Are they willing to synergize, network with me, or come together to partner to do this thing? These are the issues. I mean, we've seen the Elfiki partnership that brought out the Wedding Party 1 and 2. Is that partnership still there? Probably not, because I haven't heard coming out with anything else. So it's very difficult because we're not coming together to say, let's partner. Everybody's doing nami, my own thing, you know, and we're not saying, oh, this studio is bringing, and that's what Hollywood does. Because you go to Avengers, you find out that there are so many other people who are partnering to get it done. A studio is probably just there to develop one character, and at the end of the day, they split the funds. We're not doing that. Until we get to that place where we can say, let's leverage on goodwill, trade by barter. I don't need to put in the money. At the end of the day, we value the film and say, oh, it cost us, by putting together everything, 1 billion to get this done. And then you now go to the market and say, okay, can we market this movie well? Get the money out so that we pull people into the theater. These things are not happening here. We get to do individual work, like we're running small kiosks. That's how it works. And that's
I
the problem.
want to disagree with you a little bit. The former president, Goodluck Jonathan, before his tenure expired, I know he set up a fund.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it was over ₦1 billion for Nollywood. I know for a fact that Bank of Industry has supported a couple of films. ASO Investments also. So the likes of Wedding Party, Heaven's Hell, there are a couple of them getting funding. Will you say this is as a result of who is making the film, as opposed to the content and quality of the film or the script?
Well,
because some people are having access to funding in the same industry.
I'm a beneficiary of the project, Act Nollywood project. My second, to the New York Film Academy was sponsored by Project Act Nollywood. That's the Goodluck Jonathan administration. That happened. That I know. So I know what you're talking about. And then there was a film production fund that we're giving about 15 million per movie. And then the distribution never happened because that was when the new administration came in. But I guess they're trying to do that now with the new CBN policy. Now, the other thing also is the fact that, you know, in this country, there are times that really, when you're trying to do something genuinely, there are people who get, you know, yeah, they find a way in there, and before you know it. So it's not really about who is making the film, it's who has access to the money. I mean, I know that Kunle Afolayan had access to that money, and that's why the CEO was made. Part of the money funding for the CEO was made, you know, and that's also a very good production. It was done. Now, other than that, like I said, and like you rightly said, Bank of Industry, it was federal government money that was put in there. But you cannot walk into a commercial bank. That is where the problem is, because as far as they are concerned, that is not an investment that you can guarantee. It's not solid enough. You know, so those are issues that we face as filmmakers. So at the end of the day, you just resort back to the small 5 million or 3 million that I have, and what you need to do is like sharp, let's do it now in 4 days.
But even looking at these movies that had government funding, what were their success rates?
Well, that's another very interesting question. I mean, like I said, the problem also is that now we don't have data and the statistics. When those movies came out, this what do you call them? The Distributors Association didn't have the statistics that we're having now, so you won't even know the numbers. It's what they tell you that you will take. So I can't confidently tell you that these films made so much money, because nobody will come and tell you, oh, my film was a failure. They won't tell you that. They will probably tell you, oh, we made 500 million, you know, at the theaters, you know. So those are the issues that we can't even talk about. Why? Because there are no statistics. There is no federal agency, so to say, that goes out there to say these are the real numbers. Even if you're chunking it out, where can we see it? We're talking about FIR, say, oh, okay, you made 300 million. Okay, let's see if you're paying your tax. So that if I'm looking for this information, I can go to the Nigerian Film Corporation, or I can go to the Census Board, or go to the FIRs and say, okay, these people declared 300 million as whatever, how much, you know. We're not doing that, so we don't really know. So it's what I tell you that you take, and that's what you work with. That's pretty much how it works in this industry. And so with that, it's also difficult to plan, because now you're not sure if these films are making this money. Because there are times I'll go into a theater to watch a Nigerian film, I'll probably be the only person sitting down in the whole theater, you know. But you want to go and see an Acrimony by Tyler Perry, there's no space. Avengers, people are sitting on the aisle just because they want to see an Avenger. You want to walk into a Nigerian, so it's...
Well, can you really fault the people?
No, you can't.
Exactly.
You can't, because the other problem also is that people must understand that for me to leave my house, drive down to a cinema, buy maize that they put in hot fire.
You just cut into maize.
For 1,000 naira, and enter into a cinema to watch a movie, there must be an experience for me.
Of course.
I could easily stay at home because I have a 60-something inch TV with a surround speaker and watch it. But if I have to go out on a date to go see a movie, let it be that I walk in and I come out feeling satisfied. That's the only reason why I want to go see it. Not because, oh, everybody's putting up films in. So Nigerian producers must also understand that for you to get the numbers, you must produce quality that people want to go and see. And let me tell you, in this country, pretty much everywhere, word of mouth is the strongest marketing tool. So if I come out of the theater and I say, this film was trash, trust me, 10 people will hear it and 10 people will refuse to go and see it. But if I come and say, oh, wow, I enjoyed it, it was nice, go see it, then the next person will go see it, the next person will go see it. But that will only happen if I step out of that theater feeling like, and the other problem like we're talking about is that when we're rushing to do these things, we don't pay attention to details. That's a problem. Because sometimes you say, oh, this character is a billionaire. He just gave his son 300 million to go and do business. And his house has one L chair somewhere. And it doesn't in any way speak of the wealth that you are trying to create around this person. And so you're saying to the audience, I just imagine the set yourself. This is the story that I'll put, but you just imagine that his house is bigger than this. It's wrong. I want to go into the theater sitting down and not have to worry about why this is not like this.
Exactly.
All
Lazy
I want to do,
production.
I just want to enjoy what I'm watching and then come out, because I need to, after the stress, I want to just go and relax.
Exactly.
Not go in there and I'm now mentally trying to work out why your set is looking the way it is. So producers must understand that going into a theater has to be an experience for me, not just because you have a film that must go to the theater.
TV shows, Battleground, Hush, Sons of the Caliphate. There's Castle and Castle.
Yeah, Castle and Castle.
Some of these have huge following.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of them have huge following. Jennifer's Diary, most of them. You now see a lot on YouTube also. So there's the syndicating to African Magic and Ebony Life. How does that work? Because we've spoken a lot about cinema and theater. Is there money in that? Is there a more viable option? Because I see a lot of TV directors and producers going more
to TV. Now the thing is that there are two ways to it. One is that there are more people subscribing to watch TV. So we have cable networks who are pretty much giving plans that are really small. With 1,000 naira you can have like a decoder in your house, depending on which of the cable networks you want. That way you can easily have access to these productions. I mean, for those who want to pay premium money, of course, you pay the high amount of money to watch quality production. Now, the TV stations also understand that people would tune in and they need to watch what's happening. And so what they are doing, and why most of us go that way, because they get to commission. So it's easy for them to say, take our money, go and do this production, and because they need, it's 24 hours. They have to have fresh content every day to keep people paying top naira to subscribe. And so they will commission. They will buy your production if it is good enough. Why? Because they have to keep daily. And so it's easy for them to commission the Hush, the Halitas, the Joins, the House of the Sons of the Caliphate, the Castle and Castle. Why? Because they need to keep those people watching every day and tuning in. And the more the numbers, the advertisers keep rushing in. You know, so it's easy to make sure that you have numbers which is verifiable for TV, because there's a technology that shows how many people have hit your show daily. That way you can go to advertisers and say, oh, okay, this is the number of people who are watching my show daily. And they'll say, okay, let's put in those revenues there. And they can generate their money back. It's easier. For online content, I mean, most of those people who commission are pretty much like banks who would have to commission new shows like Skinny Girl in Transit, the one that's shown at the Men's Club. These are sponsored by banks because they know that they are targeting a demographic of people who need to go do banking. So it's easy to say, oh, there is Rec TV, there is Ndani TV, and so you tune in to watch these shows on the go. Because that is what is happening right now. More people
even with the success of TV shows, we still see the Z Worlds are topping the charts, above all the other Nigerian TV shows.
In Nigeria.
Yes. Yeah. So when I look at that, I ask myself the question. Growing up, I used to watch Papa Jasco. Like the whole household would watch that. We were obsessed with TV shows like that. But I don't really know. I might be wrong, but I don't really know a TV show that brings the family together these days. So where did we lose that ability to create content that people are glued to, that people see a representation of themselves in? And why is it that we're gravitating towards more international content now, like the Z Worlds, for instance, than Nigerian-made or homegrown products?
I think for content like production like the Z World, they put you in a, what's the word? Like they take you into a world where the fantasy is, and a lot of times we found out that a lot of people that watch TV mostly are women, wives, mothers who have the time to sit down and watch television. And so these people target this demography of people who can easily say, honey, this thing has finished, so can you subscribe? Or they subscribe themselves because they need to catch on what is happening on Z World. So these guys have a way of targeting those people because they tell those emotional stories. In Nigeria, things are, everybody is harsh. So we're not telling those emotional stories enough. We're always in a hurry to, and if you check what they do there, forget the way people see it. These guys take their time to produce these things because they know where to hit you. And for us, most times when we start producing, we're just producing for the sake of it. We're not telling the stories the way, and we're trying to copy them now. We're trying to show what the Western world is doing. Why? Because we kind of feel that people want to see that. That's what the producers are saying. We kind of feel that people want to see that. Why? Because they want to live in that world, but then most times we don't get it right. Because even the phoneme that they want to speak is always not real, they're there. But of course, there are people who fantasize about, oh, I go see this and I want to look like X person on this show. I want to that works also. But at the end of the day, we're losing it to those who are bringing in their culture in here. The Z World is bringing a whole different level of culture, the Indian culture, bringing it in here. And people are consuming that more because they're trying to say, oh, we don't know what's happening there. Can we find out? And are we really changing the narrative? Nigerians have seen a lot of these dramas that we're producing. It's almost like we're recycling the stories of the old Nollywood. And so they're saying, can you guys just do something different?
New. But you see, even at that, although we run out of time, even at that, the rest of Africa loves Nollywood.
Oh, absolutely.
Anywhere you go, the first thing they say, they mimic your accent. Even my friends in America would watch it online and go, or like all these funny little things that we do. So like the rest of the world, the rest of Africa particularly, loves Nollywood. So I'm wondering, are you able to make your movies viable and profitable in these other African countries, or is it just Nigeria that's, you know, the main issue? Because as you said, we're so used to the content where, you know.
I think it's about time that we start going out there to see if we can. I mean, they're there, the distributors, the pirates. It's not normal. Most times, Africa gets to see this thing because of pirates, not because distributors are going there.
Really?
Yes, I mean, a lot of times it's not the producer that took the movie to Cameroon or to Namibia or Kenya. It's pretty much not. These are
but
pirates.
in Ghana, I watch you on TV.
Well, yeah, maybe Ghana is just down here. I can fly into Ghana and see what I can do about distributing. But I'm talking about a lot of times, I can bet you that 70% of the time, Africa has seen Nigerian productions because the pirates made it happen, not because of distribution. Why? Because that is a whole new level of investment on its own, because if you have to go to South Africa, you have to market the film in South Africa, which is a lot of money. If you have to go to Kenya, you have to market the film in Kenya, which is a lot of money. At the end of the day, how much did you put into the film that you want to go and carry those money to go and distribute?
So I see financing, lack of data statistics,
absolutely,
lack of fresh content, lazy production. These seem like
these are major
fundamental
issues that we're facing. And if we have to get a better Nollywood, we have to work out the financing better. Commercial banks need to find a way, even if we are not, they should find a way to say, you know what, can we tap into Nollywood? Insurance companies need to say, can we tap into Nollywood? Every day we have one actor that is sick and we're begging money for treatment. Why are the insurance companies not saying, can we have a plan where people can save or be doing this insurance so that down the line, if anything happens, we can take care of it? We're not doing that. We're not getting companies coming to say, okay, there's something that will blow your mind. Nothing that we use in this industry technically is produced in this country. Nothing.
Cameras,
everything. I'm talking about down
screens.
to hard drives.
Wow.
Nothing is produced in this country.
Being done,
and so we ship in things and we have to pay custom duties, taxes. If the government says, oh, we're waiving, once you import a camera, we waive custom duties, it will help because we're employing people. Hard drive, a 1 terabyte hard drive is about 24,000 naira. If I need to get 200 terabytes of hard drive for a production, multiply that by 24. That's how much is going into just buying storage. Just storage. That's a problem. Simple hard drive, what do you call it? We don't produce here. C-stands, the cables, we don't produce in this country. And nobody is coming here to assemble them. It's a problem. So even Nollywood itself has to look inside and say, you know what, can we find a way to get these things and make them easier for ourselves? That way we can generate this revenue more. That way we can save more money. That way we can do better productions. Unless we do that, unless we find a way to convince commercial banks to invest money. They will say they are one, but just one or two. They've tried it and they were. EcoBank, sorry if I'm calling brands, tried this thing one time, invested money in films that at the end of the day didn't work out. You know, and so they ran away from it. You know, so we have to find very intelligent ways of selling these things so that people will wake up and say, oh, okay, you can go to a car manufacturing company and say, I need cars for my production. And they are like, oh, we already have 10 sitting down that we use to rent. So you can rent this or take them and go do your production and brand us and come back. We have to have that. We have to have furniture companies saying, oh, we have a bunch of furniture sitting down that you can rent and set up, put up your set. We have to have people building studios that we can easily go in and create sets so that generator noise will not kill us. And
Mr. Dimbo, unfortunately we ran out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll definitely love to have you back on the program again to talk more about this. And by the grace of God, when next you come, we hear more success stories.
Well, yeah.
And, you know, the advancement
Are you going into filmmaking after this?
You know, I did study TV and film production, so I should touch my hand. I've done documentaries, but maybe I should consider film next. Not acting in them, but like producing.
Try one, produce and see.
You act, okay, perfect. I'll produce it. Sounds like an 80s.
Brothers are trying to take over.
Thank you so much for coming in today's program.
Thank you very much for having
me. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, more on the Weekend Show. Don't go anywhere.